welcome. This is Reuben, who went to Hereford. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What A-levels did you do at Hereford? What are you up to now? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, at Hereford, I did maths for the maths, physics, and computer science. And then I applied to do computer science at Cambridge. I took a gap year, and now I've just finished my first year at Cambridge.
And which college are you at Cambridge?
Churchill College.
How did you decide you were going to go to Cambridge? What other universities were you considering as well?
I think like with computer science, especially, sort of your two routes are either university or like apprenticeships, that kind of routes. And I think they're both very good routes. But for me, I was quite interested in the sort of very theoretical side, the academic side of computer science. So university was sort of the obvious option for me. And then I picked Cambridge because it's sort of one of the best for computer science. And then other than Cambridge, I sort of looked at I think at Nottingham as my insurance choice. Because I think there's a lot of quite good unis in the UK for computer science.
Fantastic.
So I did my maths in year 12 because I was doing further maths.
And then tell me, what kind of things did you do for your computer science to kind of further your interest? What kind of things did you pursue or research beyond the curriculum?
Something that I found I really enjoyed was MOOCs. I think I did MOOCs on Coursera, where I think Stanford have some online courses, and so I did online courses in machine learning and game theory. And I find that really interesting actually, because machine learning is all about AI, which obviously is a very big topic right now. And I sort of after doing that MOOC, I then tried to move on and do I used some online libraries to try and make my own machine learning models. And then I read some academic papers on machine learning. So I thought I really sort of focused on that area because it was something I found very interesting.
That's very cool. And then tell us about your maths, because obviously for Cambridge particularly, they're really just looking at the maths. What do you notice about the kind of Cambridge course? Why is maths so central? You know, you could even apply without having done computer science A-level. Why is the maths so important?
I think in a lot of ways, like computer science, especially a very academic course like Cambridge is basically a branch of maths. I think that's the difference. If you don't like the maths, that's why the apprenticeships are probably a bit better because they focus on more just programming. But with the degrees, you look a lot at sort of the theory behind computation, like the maths of what can be computed. And so really a lot of the courses we do are pretty much just a branch of maths. We do a bit of coding as well and stuff, but often it's, coding something quite mathematical.
Okay, cool. And so when you're applying to Cambridge, you had to sit an admissions test. Tell us, what was that admissions test? How did you prep? How did you find it? And you'd already got an A* in your maths, presumably?
Yeah.
So you're applying with an A*. And then tell me about the admissions test that you had to sit.
So I had to sit the CTMUA, which was delightfully fun. So the practice I did was mainly just doing all the past paper questions, but there weren't that many. So I also did past papers from the maths, which is quite a similar test.
And was that just really hard maths?
It's quite nice because I really like it because it's based only on AS maths. So the actual maths you use isn't too hard. It's just sort of using reasonably basic maths in quite maybe hard or interesting ways, sort of utilizing very simple tools to solve a difficult problem.
What kind of maths are we talking here? Be specific. I'm not a mathematician, but people watching this will understand.
It's mainly, I think, the everything up to AS maths, and it's just sort of, for the CTMUA at least, it's all multiple choice questions and you have to do them quite quickly. So I can't remember exactly, but you get a couple of minutes per question really. So it's more about just testing your ability to sort of see how to solve a problem quickly and accurately.
And then why do you think they use that? How have you found your supos at Cambridge? How have you found your supervisions?
I think the supervisions are good. They're sort of you get an hour sitting with somebody to just go over a topic or whatever, and it's quite nice because it's 1-on-3 or 1-on-2, so you get to ask questions very easily. And I'm not sure. I think the admissions test itself is we don't really do much incredibly time pressured multiple choice questions, but I think it's mainly just to weed people out for interviews is the impression I get.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't do well at, the MAT, the TMUA, the STEP, you won't get to interview. You absolutely won't. And it's the speed, I think, that they're really looking at, that if you can do, it's that time pressure. And then for supervisions, do you normally have to kind of pre-prepare a kind of problem page, or how do they work? Do you kind of do something beforehand and then bring that with you, or do you just try stuff in that supervision?
So the majority of, I mean, it varies slightly like topic by topic, but the majority of work I do will be work for supervisions. So you'll get set, problem sheets. It's often sort of quite mathsy problems, or slightly more logical problems, but something in that vein, or sort of like short written questions. And so pretty much most of the work I do will be preparing for supervisions, and then you have a supervision where you go over your answers. And then some topics it works a bit differently, like some topics aren't so suited to that. So, you don't do work in preparation for supervisions, but for mostly that is it.
And why would you say that you enjoy that? So that's the opposite of lots of universities that students are choosing. And that's a really important choice, actually, because if you want to kind of pre-prepare and come to your supervision, or for your Oxford, your tutorial, having done a lot of the kind of thinking beforehand. And do you find you make a lot of mistakes in your supervision?
Definitely, yes. But I think that's why they work very well is you really, you come into it already knowing what you're sort of struggling on or where your misconceptions are. And I think, if you've already put a lot of thought into something, you can sort of, when you sort of the bits you're missing get explained, or it all sort of clicks very quickly. So you can make a lot of progress in that hour.
And what would you say to someone who is going to get amazing grades like A's, but perhaps that's a bit of a struggle? So why do you think that, generally speaking, at Oxford and Cambridge, they're looking for way above the A's? Why do you think it is they're asking for at least the 3 A's at Oxford and much higher in some courses? Why is it they're asking for those exceptionally high grades?
I think there's a lot of work they set. So the amount of work they set is much higher than anything else I've done. And I think then to be able to sort of keep up, you just need to be able to do the work quite quickly. Or you can't be spending loads of time trying to understand the basics, let's say, because you're just, or at least in every topic, because you're not going to have time to do it. So you need to be able to sort of understand topics quite quickly and get to that deeper level quite quickly to be able to keep up.
Fantastic. And then tell us, what has been your favourite thing you've learned this year? So what's your favourite topic you've looked at or learned?
I really like Foundations of Computer Science, actually. It's sort of, it's one of the first topics we did. And it's programming in functional languages. So it's sort of programming, but a very different way of thinking about it. You sort of build things up through definitions rather than statements of what you want to happen. You sort of define things, and and you can all the problems that get set in it are it's a very interesting sort of logical puzzle. I find it very enjoyable.
Oh, that is cool. And so tell us, let's go back a little bit. What did you do on your gap year? And then tell us what you're up to this summer.
So in my gap year, I spent 9 months working as an intern software developer at a local company. And then I left that and I spent 3 months in Costa Rica with Rally International volunteering.
Wow.
And then I worked on a summer camp in America teaching robotics.
Amazing. And so what are you up to this summer now? You've finished your term.
So now I'm starting an internship with Careers Wales for the summer as a software developer.
And how did you get that? So a big thing we're really focusing upon now is making sure our students have good work experience, because obviously if you choose to go down the degree route, you'll have all that knowledge. But actually, it's also about getting really valid work experience and those tools to kind of go into the world of work. So how did you get this internship? And then what would your hints and tips about getting kind of internship and work would be?
So the first internship I just got by basically finding local companies and emailing them my CV. And then this one, I mean, quite similar, but I did a week of work experience at Careers Wales a few years ago. So I sort of know some of the people who work in the IT department.
So then what are you looking forward to about the rest of your course? What are you most excited about studying that you haven't studied yet?
So I think next year we sort of get a bit more deeper into the theory stuff. I find I really enjoy the sort of quite theoretical stuff rather than the actual. I mean, I like programming as well, but I quite like sort of thinking about the maths behind it or the theory behind it. And so I think next year we sort of delve into stuff like complexity theory, and that's where it's a very famous unsolved question of P versus NP, and that's sort of asking is every problem that can be solved or verified quickly can also be solved quickly, and sort of quite deep questions about that. And that's sort of a question of the nature of mathematics rather than just quite an applied question, which I find very interesting.
That sounds very cool. Now, if you think back, what would your hints and tips be for students who are at Hereford, perhaps choosing unis, choosing courses, their A levels, anything, any hints and tips that you would want to give to a year 12 student?
I think they should do computer science, but I mean, yeah, I guess follow your interests. I think you want to be interested in what you do at uni, especially if you're going for something like Oxbridge, because you are going to spend a lot of time working on your subjects, so you do kind of have to enjoy it.
Good. And while you've been at Cambridge, what else have you done with your time? So presumably you do lots of work, obviously, but what else have you done with your time?
A lot of sort of hanging out with people, I guess. I haven't done too much academic extracurriculars. I did do like a game jam where you have to try and make a game in 48 hours. But I haven't really done too much of that, mainly just enjoying the town and stuff.
Fabulous. Very good. So, Reuben, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for your hints and tips and sharing your experience of all of the maths that you're doing in your computer science course at Cambridge and all of the things you've done up until now, particularly interesting about the internship. And that sounds absolutely fascinating. So thanks so much. It's been lovely to chat.
Thank you.